video, his, of course, show, Roland Martin Unfiltered, and talked about some misinformation that he felt like Charlemagne put out there over the Breakfast Club iHeartRadio about the government shutdown and the subsidies around the Affordable Care Act. And according to Roland Martin, it appeared that Charlemagne didn't really have the full scope of what was happening and what Democrats were asking for, and the reason why at the time they were holding out, not going on to the CR, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Charlemagne made a response. Now, it's super long. I'm going to play you a brief clip.
Sure.
A brief clip of Charlemagne's response, y'all, because this is a larger discussion about Black media or Black targeted media, because Roland Martin is Black-owned media. Listen to Charlemagne's response to Roland Martin. Check this out.
But to say that I put out misinformation, that's just a fat, rotund Martin lie. Now,
I like that.
I just got a little bit more, just a little bit more. I'm with you. There is a reason Rotund Martin wants to paint the Breakfast Club, me in particular, as a person spreading misinformation. See, I'm going to pull the curtain back a little bit, not too much, because it really don't matter. I just want some of you to know people's motivation. Roland Martin is a hater. Okay, he be hating on me behind the scenes to anybody who will listen. He will say something negative about me, and it's always in regards to how I'm moving in this media space. In particular, anything in the political realm. It's always why does he get this? Why does he get that type of thing? Why is he on cable news? Why do politicians go sit with the Breakfast Club? Roland, I don't know. Okay, favor ain't fair, but he will do all that hating, but loves texting my phone asking to come on the Breakfast Club. Mm-hmm. Correct? Then because okay, just be super correct.
All right. So now I want to play Roland's response to Charlemagne. Again, it was a long response. I can't play their full responses on air. Folks say, why don't you play the full clip? These are like 20-minute, clips. But here's a brief reaction from Roland Martin at the Black Star Network. Listen to this.
And so he made a whole bunch of comments, some personal attacks. Let me be real clear. I don't give a damn what you say about my weight. I don't give a damn what you say about my neck. I don't give a damn what you say about my hairline. I don't give a damn about none of that. And the reason I don't give a damn about none of that, because none of that shit matters. See, I am speaking to and addressing and confronting larger issues at play that have a profound and significant impact on our community. And see, I'm absolutely unbothered if someone says, "Oh, you're a Democrat shield, you doing this, that, the other for the Democrats." No, because see, I'm real clear. I stand up for Black people. I stand up for Black people on the local level, the state level, the national level, international level. I fight on behalf of Black people. I've worked in Black-owned media, not Black-targeted media. iHeartRadio owns the Breakfast Club. That's Black-targeted. That's not Black-owned. So I've worked on Black-owned media since 1990. That's 35 years. I'll be 57 on Friday.
Roland Martin is a legend. Roland Martin has inspired me and pretty much everybody I know. A lot of people came up under Roland Martin. A lot of folks came up under Karen Hunter as well. Roland is a media icon. Yes. And we use that word loosely, but he is a media icon. The digital space that many of us are in, Roland Martin was doing that first.
Yep.
Right? So my thing is, you could disagree with Roland Martin fact-checking you. That's fine. But I think what really pissed me off was to make it about somebody's weight or the way somebody looks. That was very Trumpian, actually. And if you want to be Trumpian, fine. But to talk about somebody's physicality I think is a really ugly to the core, an ugly part of your spirit. And Charlemagne, I never met Charlemagne. I saw him one time in a in the makeup room in CNN many years ago. And he doesn't know me at all. I'm not saying he has any idea of who I am. But Charlemagne is somebody who says he cares about black media. If you felt like he was wrong with misinformation and disinformation, then correct that. But why make it personal? Why talk about the way that he looks? How does that help us collectively? Because Roland Martin isn't the enemy, right? I mean, your words and your language has been used for GOP ads, whether it was Mikey Sher, whether it was Jack Chitterelli in Jersey, or whether it was Donald Trump. And listen, the Breakfast Club platform is huge, but to put that kind of nastiness out there, to be ugly about it, and not comment about, because Roland Martin didn't mention the way Charlemagne looks, to make it about that, just so ugly. And to me, it is antithetical to the legacy of black media. Just for me, JUSTFORME, just for me. It's just antithetical to what black media is all about. We can have disagreements.
Mm-hmm.
And then lastly, I'll say this. I did a video months ago on my show, rather, and Ted Wynn and I believe we were talking about some comments that Van Lathan made about Kamala Harris on CNN. Mm-hmm. And I didn't agree with Van Lathan. He didn't like that they interpreted her saying, "I told you so." Right. Van Lathan has a higher learning podcast. Mm-hmm. And I didn't like it. The video kind of went viral, but I didn't mention anything physical about Van Lathan. Van Lathan reached out to me and said, "Yo, what's up? I like your show. Let me come on and let's chop it up." We had an 1.5 hour live conversation on these airwaves. That's how you do it. That's how you do it. Because I didn't make it personal. I didn't attack anything about him personally. So while Roland Martin called out Charlemagne's information first, to see Charlemagne, and he made other comments about the way he looks, it just makes me feel like, where does your loyalty really lie? Where is it? And I know Charlemagne's done some good stuff. He has his own publishing imprint now. We've had an author on the show. I understand that. But you can't take away the legacy of Mr. Roland Martin. You just can't do that, and we shouldn't, and we should honor it. And I just thought it was dishonoring. But your thoughts?
I'm gonna say this. I'm gonna pull back some curtains on this, Clay. First off, one of the reasons I love you so much, you always bring me on to get in trouble with other black media people. I was like, it's either Stephen A. Smith or Charlemagne or something. It's like, I'm gonna get Jason on so he can get in trouble. But I'm gonna break this down very simply, and I'm going to do full disclosure here and there. Okay. Number one, I know Roland. I consider Roland a friend. I've known Roland for years. I've known Roland so long. I've known him long enough that I used to not like him, and now we're cool. Okay, that's how long I've known Roland. I have seen him evolve and change and become an icon and an absolute blueprint. Most of us would not be here if it were not for him. Anyone who says otherwise does not know journalism history, does not know media history over the last 20 to 25 years. Full stop, no question. Okay? Second thing, Charlemagne began his career as Wendy Williams' sidekick. He sees himself primarily as an entertainer. I don't think that's an insult to say that. He is an entertainer who has been platformed by primarily non-Black journalists as someone who is tapped into the Black community and therefore should have access and the ability to ask questions of politicians and policy people. I don't think that's an unfair description of either person's background and where they are today. First things first. I think that what Charlemagne did was very on par with how he operates in general. He operates as an entertainer. He operates as someone who sees himself as a bit of a comedian. And therefore, when he's unhappy with something, he calls people the donkey of the day. He makes fun of them. He calls them names. One of those people happens to be a very close personal friend of mine and a friend of the show, Dr. Christina Greer, who will be on later. I do not like it when Charlemagne calls people donkey of the day. I think it's very thin-skinned. I think it's unprofessional. And I think it's usually because he does not like being criticized for his political opinions oftentimes that are either wrong or sound like Republican misinformation. I'm saying this because I think it's important. We're in a really kind of funky media environment right now, right? The Root just got rebought. The Griot is in trouble. Essence Magazine doesn't have much of a political environment anymore. What we used to depend on in Black media to have discussions has all sort of shrunk and disappeared over just like the last 10 years. There was a time when conversations like this could be battled out through columns or, like you said, through texts and emails. But it's really shrunk to about 4 or 5 different spaces. And so what happens is when people have disagreements, rather than having the avenues that we used to have to handle them, they become public conflicts. Like the 5-second conflict between the Native Land podcast and the Joe Budden podcast, right? And some people watch this because they think it's funny. Ooh, mom and dad are fighting. And some of us who might be more concerned with overall public discourse within our community are like, I think this goes into some problematic areas. So I agree with you in that regard. But now I'm going to take all the kind words off. I'm going to just be honest. I've never been on Charlemagne's show. I've met him one time. I and lots of people vehemently disagree with a lot of things that Charlemagne says. It's not just me. It's you can see Nicole Hannah-Jones. You can see Cheryl and Eiffel. He has said a lot of stuff that people are like, dude, you're wrong. And the issue that a lot of people have, and Roland just happens to be one of them, is twofold. One, most people appreciate what Charlemagne does in entertainment, and therefore they're willing to tolerate when he is dead wrong when it comes to politics. But more importantly, most people want to get on his show. And if you want to get on his show, and if you want to be one of his guests, and if you want him to promote you in front of a massive audience, you are less inclined to point out when he's wrong. And I will say this because you and I are in the same chat groups. I'm going to just be real about this. I am also friends with some of Charlemagne's very close friends, so it's not like he doesn't know this about me. I have said in a very important group that we're both in, look, when Stephen A. Smith says something, people come for him. When Candace Owens says something, people come for him. But a lot of people are afraid to be critical of Charlemagne the God because they want access to his audience. I'm not concerned about that. Not because I think I'm too big for him. No. I'm not concerned about it because at the end of the day, my brand has always been, this is how Jason Johnson is. This is the same Jason Johnson who had lots of criticism of Kamala Harris, still got invited to the vice president's Christmas party. This is Jason Johnson who's critical of Joe Biden, still got sent books. I'm going to tell the truth. You either respect it or you don't. So I'm not worried about if Charlemagne ever invites me on a show. But he says wrong things all the time. And when he's called out by it, under most circumstances, when it's women, he either ignores them, and when it's Black men, he says things that are petty. I don't like that. It's not that I dislike him. I've only met him one time. The people who I know who work with him say nothing but great things about how he's operated professionally. I love that he had a Jess Hilarious, who's one of like my favorite comedians, right? But I think this is one of those issues where everybody has to stop tiptoeing around what the issue is. He's one of the biggest names in media, and he keeps getting used as misinformation by the Republican Party. Like you said, his quotes end up being in Trump ads and Republican ads. And when people have brought that to his attention, it doesn't seem to change his behavior. And nobody would care if Charlemagne wasn't important, but he is important. The criticism is a direct reflection of how influential he is. And I think what a lot of people would like is, yo, if you're so important that people are like, hey, dude, be careful with what you say, then hey, maybe listen sometimes instead of calling people names, because it ain't personal. And that's the big issue here. You know, and I say this as somebody who, like, you know, this is not false humility or anything else. Like, I'm not going to say, oh, he's never going to. I don't know if I'm ever getting invited on the show. That's not my concern. But my concern is we are in a very limited space. We have a government that is at war with Black and brown people. That's the larger issue that Roland is talking about. At war with us. And someone who speaks to the largest Black audience in America, taking time out of their day to call a media icon a donkey, to call a prominent African-American professor a donkey of the day, whose quotes are consistently used in Republican advertising, who can sit there with Andrew Schultz and other problematic racist people and yuck it up. That is something that Black folks are concerned with. But take the concern, if I, and I don't know Charlemagne, right? I could get in touch with him if I wanted to, but I'm not saying anything unique. He knows the chat rooms that we're in. He knows this is the conversation about him. He can do whatever it is he wants to do. But I think for those of us who are legitimately concerned about how our people are doing, none of this is helpful. None of this is helpful. Stephen A. Smith can go do what he wants. He is purely an entertainer. Okay, Candace Owens has always been a joke and on a grift. But I, in my heart, actually think Charlemagne actually has good intentions. I really do. Yeah. I think he's got good intentions. I think his heart is in the right place. But I don't know that his response to criticism is always the best thing for our public discourse. And I say this as somebody who I have, Mark Lamont Hill and Amanda Seals and Jamel Bowie and Tiffany Cross and Angela Rye and Joy Reid and Don Lemon. We don't all agree. Yeah. We sometimes have personal issues with each other, right? But we always have to, before you get on a microphone, and I know you do this, Clay, and I do this, before you get on a microphone, whether your audience is 2,000 people on YouTube or 20,000 people a minute streaming, the first thing we think about is like, yo, is what I say going to be a net positive or negative to my people once it's up? Yes or no? If it's going to be a net positive, I'll say it. If it's going to be a net negative, it doesn't help anybody. And so Roland pointing out, hey, you're saying things that are incorrect. It is objectively incorrect to say that the Democrats are responsible for the shutdown. You can call that disinformation or misinformation, depending on how you define the two, right? But that's wrong. And if you don't like that Roland Martin is critical of you, or more importantly, if you think that Roland Martin is a hater, how does that help? And I'll say this, and also because this is a big thing for me. And again, I don't say nothing behind closed doors that I don't say publicly. Like this isn't new. This isn't new. And I'm sure when this goes up, I'm going to get phone calls and text messages. You're going to get phone calls and text messages. But this isn't new. I'm not a liar. Like I said, I ain't never smiled in nobody's face and talk mess about them behind closed doors. What I say to Roland, like I said, I've only met Charlemagne one time, so I don't really know it's one way or another. But at the end of the day, it's like, in a year, is anyone going to be proud of this conversation? If the answer is no, then what the hell are you doing it for? Right? We got companies getting bought out from under us every single minute of the day. We got right-wing maniacs trying to starve our people during the holidays. We have elected officials getting their lives threatened every single day. And you got time to call somebody fat. What are we doing? What are we doing? And I get it. And you know what? And you get mad. We're human, right? We're human. You can get tired of people being critical of you. You can be like, I'm tired of it. I'm not saying that's not legit. What I'm saying is when you have a track record of doing this kind of thing, people are going to start looking at you funny. And nobody wants that, because we all should kind of be on one accord as far as like, hey, we got a democracy that's falling apart here and we need to help our people.
And listen, we have black media that's struggling.
Absolutely.
Black targeted media that's struggling.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I also think this is another thing that I think is super important, because I've had this happen. I'm sure you've had this happen. Everybody likes to play the Jay-Z Nas running through my hallway asking me for a place to stay kind of nonsense. Let's not play that game. Okay. Everybody has asked to be on somebody's show when they're on their way up. Roland Martin's show, whether it's your taste or not, does streaming numbers better than some cable networks. Full facts. He's a self-run shop. Ain't nobody else been able to pull that off. You can like it or not, but it's a self-run shop. So Roland pointing out to people, hey, Breakfast Club, Sway in the Morning. When Roland says, hey, I'm in New York, if you want me on, let me know. That ain't begging to get on the air with somebody.
He's hit me up too when he's come to New York. He's hit me up too, letting me know. Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. And you and I both know the difference between somebody who's being thirsty trying to get on and somebody who's letting you know, hey, I'm in town. And whether you ever say yes or no, that's not thirsty. Yeah. I'm sure there's some producer at Paramount or something else like that who can say, hey, Charlemagne's people have been desperate to get me into this, that, the other. Why would you say that about somebody? Everybody out here trying to hustle. Everybody out here trying to get their name known. But you don't have to say that about somebody like Roland, who, like, trust me, Roland Martin doesn't need anybody else's show to be a known entity. That's not the burn that you think.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting.
I hope we put this whole thing up. I really do. I hope you put this whole thing up, Clay. I'm not concerned about anything I've said here. Because again, I think this is a conversation that too many of us are afraid to have because we don't have the platforms or we're concerned about what's going to happen. And I'm not in that position. I'm not in the position to have to be concerned one way or another.